From an early age, we learned that nothing is permanent on our planet and that in the end everything ends. As we get a little older, we can see how our predecessors have turned the world into a real occupation and that the obsession seems to be inherited from generation to generation. We all know how many times it has been said that the world will end in the last 20 years, but it seems that we are all still fine. It seems that this is due to some psychological aspects of humanity. Religions such as Christianity, Islam or Judaism often focus on a catastrophic phenomenon that will lead to destruction. However, the scenarios of the apocalypse are even older than those of organized religion. The oldest written story, the 5,000-year-old Sumerian text called the Epic of Gilgamesh, tells a horrible sequence in which a goddess threatens to raise the dead from the underworld to haunt the living. Of course, scientists are still trying to find answers to the uncontrollable obsession with the appearance of the end of the world, and it seems that so far they believe that this global fascination may come from our desire to mentally reduce the real danger and evil in the world. And yet there are many cases in which people have predicted the occurrence of certain events and have been brave enough to go further in predicting the end of the world. Thus we will analyze together the situations that could lead to our end and a special case in which a woman claims to know exactly when the world will end. The end of 2012. Mayan theory. The fact that the world would end in December 2012 has been a major topic of discussion for a significant period of time. According to the Mayans, their calendar spans about 5,125 years from 3,114 BC before the end of the cycle on December 21, 2012. That day brings the end of the 13th Baekjen, a period of nearly 400 years in the Mayan counting calendar. However, this is not the case. Instead of moving on to the next Baekjen, the calendar will be reset at the end of the 13th cycle. Similar to how a car from the 60s would reach 99,999 kilometers and its diameter would be reset to 0. Of course, we know that this really means 100,000 miles, not 0, said William Saturn, an expert in Mayan archaeology at Boston University. Instead, for the Mayans, the end of the long count is the end of an old cycle and the beginning of a new one. According to Emiliano Iago, ETA, the director of the Chiapas State Division of the National Institute of Anthropology and History in Mexico, has died. It's like the Chinese. This is the year of the tiger, and the next will be the year of the rabbit, and the next will be another animal on the calendar, said Gaga. Scientific theories of climate change. Leaving aside the religious side and all the theories we can extract from the sacred writings, we can see that there are multiple threats around us that could lead to the end of the world without the need for the intervention of supernatural forces. For example, as we all know, our planet is going through a series of changes that are unfavorable to us due to environmental pollution. Climate change is already having a huge effect on weather patterns, and this will only get worse in the years to come. We have already gotten used to more and more aggressive weather phenomena, and things will be taken to the extreme. Rising temperatures will cause more disease-causing microbes. Plants and animal species will disappear. Food will dwindle as the world's population grows. The brightest and most energetic gamma-ray bursts of electromagnetic event ever detected in the universe was the gamma-ray burst. Researchers have been analyzing this event for a very long time and have tried to explain it as much as possible. We know today that these explosions are caused when an implosion phenomenon occurs in a supermassive star and then a black hole is formed. Such explosions are capable of emitting such a large amount of energy that in just a few, where it can reach an amount similar to that which the sun could produce in its whole life. Such explosions have been discovered in other galaxies. But if such an explosion were discovered near our planet, the end would be imminent. Supervolcanic eruptions. The Geological Survey of the United States claims that it is not a question of whether it can occur, but when such a supereruption of a volcano on Earth will occur. We all know that supervolcanoes have a bad habit of breaking. On Monday, for example, the Tambora volcano in Indonesia, which erupted almost 200 years ago and released into the atmosphere approximately 100 cubic kilometers of ash and rock that removed summer from the calendar the following year, and the climate was directly affected. Artificial intelligence, as in science fiction movies, could reach a point where artificial intelligence would become a real problem. This phenomenon is called technological singularity and is a very serious possible problem. Added to this is the explosion of intelligence, describing such a large amount of artificial intelligence that it would be able to take control of everything we know and become its slaves and even be exterminated. Malthus's hypothesis, a slightly simpler idea but quite appreciated by scientists, is Malthus's hypothesis. In 1798 the sociologist was of the opinion that the world's population would grow so sharply that at some point the amount of food needed to feed the globe would be insufficient, which would trigger a global famine. Of course this has happened and is happening in some isolated areas. But when things happen worldwide, there will certainly be strong conflicts between the sun, the comet or the asteroid. Returning to Earth 66 million years ago, we will be able to take part in the crash of an asteroid that would kill about 75% of our entire life. So all the information about the possible interaction with comets or asteroids is burning scientists, because such a catastrophic event could lead to the extinction of the human race. Of course, there is another hypothesis that most of us already know. In about 600 million years, the sun will become so bright that it will dramatically disrupt the Earth's silicate carbonate cycle. This will lead to the degradation of the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to values that will no longer be able to sustain life. Basically, the level of dioxide will become so high that the plants will no longer be able to do photosynthesis, and thus it will no longer be possible to produce the oxygen we breathe. The woman who knows when the world will end, Jen Dixon, is the woman who advised the U.S. presidents, even correctly predicted the assassination of Joseph Kennedy, and made some interesting statements about the end of the world. She is one of the most famous self-proclaimed astrologers in America, writing 7 high-impact books, including an autobiography full of her predictions, and a dog horoscope novel. It seems that 7 years before JFK's assassination, she predicted that he would suffer. In the May 13, 1956 issue of Parade magazine, she wrote that the 1960 presidential election would be dominated by Labor and won by a Democrat. John then added that whoever won the election would be assassinated or killed in office. Although not necessarily her first term during World War II, she was called to the Oval Office by Franklin D. Rumsfeld for advice on various military matters. She claims that the war will end before the middle of 1945. But Rumsfeld did not have the opportunity to witness this as a devout Christian. He claimed that his visions came from God, which gave him a very large number of supporters. In the end, it was Jane who predicted that the world would end in 2020. But that did not happen. She predicted the outbreak of a war of Armageddon that would destroy the planet. Conclusion: even if so far this has not happened, Egan's statement is still valid given conflicts that never seem to end. However, one thing is certain: our planet is very fragile and only one unwanted phenomenon could bring us to an end.